Welcome to the Rust Belt Revolution podcast, where we discuss everything from politics to pop culture.
I'm Nick.
And I'm John. We're two random guys from the Midwest. These are our thoughts and opinions, and nothing we say is meant to be taken as advice. Hope you enjoy the show. How's it going, Nick?
It's going well, John. How are you?
It's been a long week, but I'm here.
Yep. A long week it has been for sure.
So this week we're talking about aesthetic. You wanna get us going on that one, and I'll follow your lead.
Yeah. So I've always been sort of interested in the cultural dynamic around fashion, design, different sorts of expression that we typically imitate or use to present ourselves to the world. And I felt like it's worth discussing. I don't know about you, but I'm 35 years old, and the whole journey from going through high school then to your early 20s, and then having kids, and figuring out what your personal aesthetic really is, and how to nail that down.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I think it's worth discussing. I know.
Oh yeah.
I know mine is kind of all over the place, depending on what kind of mood I'm in.
Sure.
Mostly.
I think.
Go ahead.
No. Yeah. So I think that it's so hard to discuss aesthetic because there's so many different things that kind of go into it. You can talk about fashion. You can talk about the your interior design of where you live, and then just in terms of fashion alone, you might not be a super fashionable person in terms of clothes shopping, but maybe you have the best shoes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But I got shoes for every occasion, just because I'm all right, these are my summer shoes, these are my winter shoes, these are my work boots, these are my hiking boots.
100%. No, I refer to this as mission specific footwear.
Yep.
And that's how I live my life.
You gotta, because some days you can wear your Chucks, and other days you gotta wear fucking rain boots.
Yep. I got a $250 pair of leather boots that I wear for anytime I know I'm gonna be working on something that I need to protect my feet all day, or I've got Crocs that I wear basically when I'm bartending, because they're the best for bartending. I also wear them to school sometimes when I'm with the kids, because you could be in gym class, but then you could also be going outside where it's snowing, so they're easy to put on and off when you have to put your boots on.
Yeah. That's I got a pair of Italian leather dress boots that I got back in college.
Yeah.
And I love them. And my ex-wife absolutely hated them. Those are the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. And I fucking love them.
Yeah. I was thinking about us discussing this today, and I was like, huh. And one thing I thought about, anytime I think about aesthetic, or I think about purchasing things, I think about consumerism and what the cultural obsession is with what's trendy and what's, I absolutely hate the term on fleek. I don't know 100% what it means, but I don't like I've never considered myself to be a trendy person, but how you start to do that. I thought about the movie Silence of the Lambs, and the part where Hannibal Lecter You've never seen Silence of the Lambs?
I've
Oh,
owned it. I've owned it for like 15 years, and I've never actually put it in my DVD player.
okay. You know what? We're gonna watch this clip together then,
Okay.
because you have to see the scene to understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, to give you some context, in the movie, there's an FBI agent, Agent Starling, played by Jodie Foster, who is looking for a serial killer who goes by the moniker of Buffalo Bill. And Buffalo Bill kidnaps women and skins them, and
Cool.
he's trying to make a human flesh suit,
Cool.
basically. And he's also, I think he would be considered transgender, like he's trying to transition to be a woman, and he's making himself a female skin suit.
Oh.
So she tries to go talk to Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who's this renowned like psychotherapist who also happens to be a serial killer and is in prison. His most famous thing is like he's a cannibal, like he likes to eat people or like pieces of them, and he cooks them up.
Huh.
Anyway, so she's talking to him, trying to glean any kind of information she can by having him do a psych eval on the case file for Buffalo Bill. Basically, everything that they've amassed so far. And I have a link here, and she's trying to talk to him about like figuring out where this guy's at, like nailing down his location. How do I share my screen? Here we go. All right, you ready?
Yep.
You see it?
Yep.
First principles, Clarice. Simplicity. Read Marcus Aurelius. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?
He kills women.
No, that is incidental. What is the first and principal thing he does? What needs does he serve by killing?
Anger. Social acceptance and sexual frustrations.
No, he covets. That is his nature. And how do we begin to covet, Clarice? Do we seek out things to covet? Make an effort to answer now.
No. We just...
Now, we begin by coveting what we see every day. Don't you feel eyes moving over your body, Clarice? And don't your eyes seek out the things you want?
All right, yes.
So, the whole idea there is we covet what we see every day. And that's a really creepy way of like sending that message, but it makes sense if you think about it. Like what you put yourself around, like your environment, the people around you, all of these things help to sort of like shape our desire. So when we're out shopping, we're like, oh, you know what? I saw someone wearing that and they looked pretty damn good. I'm going to go for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know as far as fashion goes, my fashion sense has drastically changed in the last few years because I used to do the website Art of Manliness. You know, there's
Yeah.
pretty traditional ways of dress, and you know, you should have 3 suit coats and 3 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of jeans. Like they had their
Make
list.
so many combinations
Yeah,
based
exactly.
on the
And they had that, and like I mean, I don't want to take away from that people who dress like that and enjoy dressing like that. My thing is I used to dress like that, and you know, it worked for me. I look pretty good doing it. But at the same time, I am now at a point where I just want to be comfortable, and I don't really give a shit what I look like. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I consider myself a hippie, and I look at what they wore in the 70s, and I'm like, all that shit was loose and flowy and comfortable. I'm like, yeah, that's what I like.
Right. Yeah, no, like honestly, in my soul, what I want to put on are basketball shorts and a cutoff t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's what I want to wear around my house every day. Sweatpants typically, like a hoodie, like that's where I'm comfortable. I wore a suit and tie. I was a sales director of a hotel. So, and before that, I worked front desk. I was the front desk manager. So I always had to wear, a suit and tie, or collared shirt, polos. Like I don't know, just I was always fashion, like dressing fashionably or trying to look presentable at least. I would shudder to say fashionable. I mean, like all my clothes were purchased, in the time that I worked there, so nothing was like sort of dated. But I would say for one, I hate wearing a tie. I always tell people if I could go back in time and kill two people, it'd be baby Hitler, and the second one would be the guy who invented the tie. Because a fucking ties are horrible, like absolutely horrible. And I think actually somebody told me that it was one of the kings of France that invented the tie, or anyway, it was somebody like royal. They used to wear the shit back in like the 1600s, maybe even before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I hate wearing a tie. Like I look good in a tie. I know this, and there's times where you have to wear a tie. Court, funeral, like job interviews. If you're working in any position where you have to be presentable, maybe going to church, I don't know. There's lots of places where you gotta wear a tie, but it just feels like the comedian, you know what I'm talking about, James or Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah,
he's like feels like we're being choked by a really really weak guy all day long. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
that's exactly what it feels like.
oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I enjoy wearing a suit on the rare occasion I do. Like, my sister got married back in September, and she had me wear a suit, everything. But yeah, the tie was awful.
Yeah.
As soon as the service was over, I took that
Yeah.
off, unbuttoned the top couple buttons.
Yeah, I look good in ties. Like I like ties. I have a bunch of ties, but I hate wearing them. I mean, I like the end of the night look where like you look at somebody and you're like, that guy has had a day. Because you see him, he's got 2 or 3 buttons undone. The tie is draped. It's not like, it's just draped. And his hair's all ruffled. He's probably doing this and smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean? Like that's the classic. I work in sales. My day has been horrible. I don't want to talk to anyone. But there's like a look that that kind of matches, that goes with that. It's like brown loafers, blue pants, white shirt, some sort of like matching tie or whatever. Like I don't know. Why do we like these things? I have no idea. The whole idea that one thing I always hated about sales and like working in business environments is the expectation of there's this like code of dress and conduct. Like, what's wrong with blue jeans and a hoodie? Like, we're not saving babies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Not to mention, I don't know, a lot of those professions, like you spend a lot of time on your computer, you spend a lot of time on your phone, and everybody complains about having to go to meetings, but meetings usually only comprise of like 25-30% of your day. And a lot of those meetings are done online these days. So it's like, what is the point? Why are we spending all this money on dress wear when it is literally just some sort of artificial construct that society made up so we could separate the people doing these things from the people that aren't? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
That being said, there's a pair of shoes I've always wanted, and if I ever make millions, I will buy them. They're Christian Louis Vuitton. They're red-bottomed Oxfords. Oh my God. They are the most gorgeous Oxford shoe you've ever seen. But they're like, I think they're like $2,000 or more. They're ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake wore them in a music video for the song Mirrors, I think.
Okay.
He's doing some dancing and stuff, and like you can see him like pop his foot up, and he's wearing these like red bottom Oxfords. Those are the shoes.
Okay.
And that's where I was like, you know what, I gotta have those someday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. As far as like, I mean, shit. Most of my T-shirts are band T-shirts that I got at concerts. My hoodies I wear until they're threadbare. So I mean, I just got rid of my high school football sweatshirt like a couple months ago.
I was just gonna ask you, do you still have clothes from high school or from like early 20s?
I did. When I graduated high school, I was 150 pounds, wore mediums, and then a couple years ago, I got up to 187. So I got rid of all of that shit then because it didn't fit anymore. And I was like, I'm not hanging on to it. But now I'm back down to 145, so I'm even less than I was in high school. So all my clothes are super baggy. So I don't look super awesome as far as style goes anyway.
I have I have a few things from high school. One of them is a like Jostens class of 2006, like we make the rules. It's like an athletic hoodie, you know, like the Rocky like workout hoodie.
Yeah.
But I cut the sleeves off of it and I cut down the middle, like right here, which was popular when we were in high school to just cut this. So like I've still got that, and I always get made fun of when I wear it because it literally looks like Rocky's hoodie from like Rocky 2 when it's all torn and disheveled. That's exactly what it looks like. It's been ripped. I've been into fights wearing that hoodie, and it's been torn from that. Like what started as like just a cut ended up being like a cut and a stitch over here, and it's got blood stains on it, and I love it, and I'll never get rid of it.
I get that.
Yeah. But I also have an entire tote full of like all these stupid shirts I bought from, well, I call them stupid shirts, but I like them. They're like shirts I bought from Walmart and Meijer. They're in like all these different places. They're just graphic tees. And I should get rid of them. Like, you know, most of them are large and XLs, and I'm a solid like 2XL minimum, 3XL comfy, you know?
Yeah.
And so the chances I'm going to fit into these soon are, you know, it's not going to happen. But I'm like, oh, well, maybe the kids will like them someday. Like, because now I see kids wearing shit that was like, I wish I still had a few of the shirts my dad gave me when I was in high school. He had this sick band tee. It was Metallica from the And Justice for All album.
Ooh.
And it was like this skull with these big vampire fangs and a like wooden spike. And it said Injustice for All, and it was fucking sweet. And now it would be vintage.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be like a $60 shirt.
Well, you know, we're old now.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's nutty. Yeah, there's a lot of my dad, you know what? If I go back and think about like aesthetic, like my dad is he's noticeably he has good taste, I guess would be the best way to put it. Like I feel like my old man's got really good taste. And I think it's just he's always put stock, he always cared about like how people like what people thought, you know, when they came over and stuff. Like he liked to have his place looking nice. To the point where like he's like remodeled rental units just because, you know, and like he knew he was going to lose the money like whenever he moved, but he'll like repaint the whole damn thing and like sand the walls just because he wants it to look good while he's there, you know?
Yeah.
Never made sense to me, but that's his thing. now he's
But
now he's got his own house, so he's really happy. But
oh yeah, I just don't have people over because my house is
yeah,
trashed almost all the time.
so is mine. But I mean, we've got three boys in a tight living quarters. I mean, we have a 4 bedroom, two bath, like 1.5 bath apartment. It's two floors, but it just doesn't, like, in terms of square footage, it's not that big. I don't even know. I'm not sure exactly how big it is, but for a family of five, it's small.
Well, my problem is, I mean, I got a pretty big house. I got 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's like 1,700 square feet, but I've only got 2 closets in the entire house, and it's like, where am I supposed to store stuff?
Yeah, closet
And
space.
I had a bunch of stuff in the basement when I moved in, and then that spring I got a foot of water in the basement, and I was like, "Oh, my basement floods. That's cool."
Yikes. That sucks.
But I don't know. As far as my aesthetic goes, I got a lot of tapestries and you know, uh,
Mhm.
a lot of hippie boho kind of shit. Although my cat keeps tearing it off the walls now.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my aesthetic these days is more influenced by, like, things I'm interested in from, like, a cultural perspective. So I really I really enjoy, like, Norse mythology and, like, Scandinavian folklore and things like that. So, I have this Viking aesthetic. I is what I would call it, like Viking samurai cowboy. That's kind of like, how I describe my aesthetic. And there's something about Japanese culture, whether it's like anime, like video games, like, but even way, way, way past that, like the cuisine. I love Japanese food. I love the culture in Japan. There's lots of things that, Japan is behind on in terms of, like, oh, well, I don't know. That's a discussion for a different day, but, like, you know, Japanese history and the culture is fascinating to me. And same with, like, Scandinavian culture. And then the Wild West of the American West of, the 1800s and before is like the frontiersmen that kind of like help build, and like we have all these stories about them. Like that is very interesting to me as well. That whole, like, sort of like frontiersman mindset of, like, the rustic carving out your piece of land in unexplored territory. Like, it's super interesting to me, and that's kind of how I gauge my aesthetic.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a shelf over here. It's all Asian. I got, uh it's a little Chinese puzzle ball. It's like I got a small one. It's only 3 layers, but it's like an infinity ball. You can twist the inner layers
Oh, neat.
around. And
Yeah.
uh I bought last year before, I don't remember. Uh Bruce Lee had plaques made for his gym, and I paid, it was like $250, I think, for replicas that they released.
Whoa.
And there was
Is it
a little, they're
like
solid wood.
Jeet Kune Do, like, stuff,
Uh
or
it's it's basically a yin yang, but the one has the left side and the one has the right side, and then the third one has both of them, and the last one is just a blank piece of wood. And I forget exactly what it says on it, but it's basically like you have to get to balance, and then
okay.
you'll
Yeah.
reach enlightenment or whatever. However it was, I don't remember exactly what it is, but I got those hanging in my living room with my weightlifting stuff because
Sick.
I love Bruce Lee.
Me
And then,
too.
I mean, talking about cowboys, I got the entire Louis L'Amour leather bound collection back here.
See that.
And I don't know. I love the Norse and Viking stuff too. I mean, that's basically my heritage. I'm Swedish and Finnish mostly. So
Mm. Yeah. I'm German, Irish, Scottish. A lot of German.
I'm pretty heavily German too, but
Yeah.
I know Swedish and Finnish is where I'm mostly from. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Never actually. I need to do the 23andMe and figure that out, but
I need to as well. Yeah. I've always wanted to do that to actually kind of like figure out and nail down like some of that stuff, but I kind of want to research before I do that on like how accurate or like how reliable those things actually are. You know, I'm sure it's probably pretty accurate, but it's always been interesting to me.
oh yeah,
I just think that you know, particularly in terms of fashion, we put a lot of stock in how much we care or how much we allow other people's opinions of us to shape our purchases. And consumerism kind of walks hand in hand with capitalism in my mind in terms of like things that we need to try to curb in our culture today. Consumer culture is kind of gross, and like how much we consume in America is despicable. And like we really need to focus on shifting the you know the cultural mindset behind fashion and you know decor, interior design, things like that, to a more sustainable approach and to something that is a bit more utilitarian. There's no reason why we need you know 50 million different doodads. Like you don't need that much selection. You know what I mean? It's just
no,
the examples of it all the time. And packaging is another example. Like we need to minimize packaging. You know, and it's a conversation for another day again. Like you know, we can have a whole episode talking about consumer culture, but it does kind of play into aesthetic and fashion, interior design, things like that. Yeah. I also am really into nerd culture, so it's hard to not buy like graphic tees and stuff like that, and like little, you know, I see toys sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I want that, like an action figure. You know, it's just like the little boy that lives inside me being like, I want to play with it, you know.
oh yeah,
But I don't know. I have to restrain myself a lot of the time, you know. There's a lot of big boy toys that I want to get someday. You know, like four-wheelers and guns and
oh yeah.
stuff like that.
that's
talking about American problems.
Yes, oh yes. Well, that's. I mean, big part of my aesthetic now is all the tattoos, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, the funny part is, I got some really shitty tattoos in my buddy's basement back in college, and that was 2012, I think. And then I didn't get any of the rest of me tattooed until New Year's Eve 2019, and like a year and a half, I got, I don't know, 9, 10 tattoos. Like my arms are covered. I got one on my leg, and April of last year was the last one I got, and I've been jonesing for another one, but I've decided I need to pay off some bills first.
Sure. I wanna get a tattoo this year. Or you know, I don't have any tattoos. I had my lip pierced when I was younger, and I had my eyebrow pierced as well. Funny story, lost that piercing because it got torn out mostly in a fight,
Ooh.
and it was just like hanging there.
Yep. That'll do it.
But like I've always like I've gone through these fads, totally fads of fashion. Like I remember when I lived with my with my mom and my stepdad when I was younger, we went to church and stuff. So like my wardrobe was respectable, I guess. It was not, I wasn't, the self-expression wasn't a huge priority for them, you know, like I wasn't allowed to kind of just pick and choose what I wanted for the most part. Like they kind of told me what I had to wear.
Yeah.
Which whatever, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm over it. But like when I would live with my dad, he didn't really care as much, you know, and he also kind of made more of a priority on like he would spend a shit ton of money on me, you know, like. But then again, I was the only one he really had to worry about, other than my little sister. Whereas my mom had, you know, three of us, you know, so difference in, you know, budget there too. But when I was with my dad, man, like Sex Pistols, like the Ramones, like I'd wear his Henry Rollins like shirt, like I had a black spike collar from Hot Topic, you know, like I
Oh
had
yeah.
black spiked hair, chains, like Jinkos, like it was like,
Oh yeah.
oh man, I was a mess.
Well, I mean, you want to talk back in high school? I my style in high school was very much influenced by my brother's stepkids, who
uh,
were African American, and so I had like I went to this. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a little boutique, I guess, down where they lived, and it was just a house on the side of the road. But you walked in, and they had $60 pairs of jean shorts with like the designs on the pockets, and
yeah,
they had
yeah.
the so like uh every year for Spirit Week they would always have uh my school always had Gangster Day, and most people would wear suits and ties and stuff. Dude, I'd throw on the bandana, and I'd have my baggy clothes and everything, and all of my friends would be like, "Hey John, you got some extra clothes I could borrow?"
Oh wow, that would never fly today.
Oh
That's
no,
funny.
that was I mean, I wasn't trying to like. I mean, I was cultural appropriation, I guess, but it wasn't. That wasn't the goal. It was just those were the guys I hung out with. That's how they
Right.
dressed, and I was like, well, I'll dress like this too then.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. I think I went through a phase too where it was like I dressed more, I would call it urban. I
Yeah,
had a more urban style of dress, like, you know, a lot of basketball shorts, high tops.
Air Force Ones.
I wore K Swiss, and I think I had a pair of lugs, and yeah, I wore skater shoes for a while there too, though. Like I went through a whole skater phase because that was super popular when we were young.
Oh yeah,
You know, all the Tony Hawk games were popular. CKY was popular. Jackass was popular. Like so, Bam Margera was on, you know, TV
oh
all
yeah,
the time. Everybody wanted to be like a skater boy. Avril Lavigne had the song, and it was like, okay, skater culture, and you know, so that was me. Like, and then I fell in love with Linkin Park, and like I had the Chester Bennington hair from the Hybrid Theory album, where it was like bleach blonde with the spiked tips.
oh yeah,
So I had that style for a while. I was always trying to like make my outward appearance like be mainstream because I changed schools a lot. You know,
yeah,
I went to my parents, you know, most of the time when somebody's like, "Oh, I went to a million different schools," they'd be like, "Oh, your parents must have been in the military. You moved bases, blah blah blah." It's like, nope, nope. I just moved a lot. Like, you know, my parents moved a lot, so I went to like 13 different schools, like various elementary schools, several middle schools, multiple high schools. So, like, I was always trying to fit in, you know, and
yeah,
that meant finding a group of kids that had similar interests and making myself fit into that crew. So I would dress like them or, you know, talk like them, whatever I needed to do. And I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of what I was doing was basically just survival. It was all like, you know, kind of just self defense, like, you know, some sort of coping mechanism. Like, you have to you have this kid who's being uprooted constantly. They have to develop the skills, the communication skills to try to, you know, survive, you know, and fit in and have friends. And honestly, it helped me a lot in later in life because I feel like in terms of communication, I would consider myself an above average communicator, and that comes directly from having to fit in with all these cliques and fads growing up.
yeah. That's I was homeschooled until my freshman year of high school. So I got to go to school and just wearing my homeschool, my plain white t-shirt and my, I don't know, probably Wrangler jeans pulled up all the way to the waist like they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it took me about a month before I was like, yeah, I can't dress like this anymore. This doesn't work. People are
Yeah.
looking at me weird, like I'm some freak, which, I mean, I was socially awkward. I don't know how to talk to anybody. So it took me about 2 years of high school before I like settled into my groove.
Yeah. I think back to some of those fads, like some of those dress styles, like sagging your pants, really low and stuff like that. And I don't want to harsh on it because I feel like there was a cultural, an urban cultural dynamic to that style of dress, and I don't want to like rain on anyone's parade. But when I think about clothing these days, looking back, like as a 35-year-old version of myself, I these days think of clothes in terms of practicality and less in terms of self-expression. I'm much more comfortable now wearing solid colors with no graphics and much more comfortable just, finding clothes that are comfortable and that are practical. When I look at people like back in the day who would sag their pants, I don't understand it because like it's not practical in any respect of the word. Like it is the least practical thing. You cannot move well when you're sagging your pants. You, in fact, trip quite a bit. You have to actually use one hand to keep them from falling off. I remember running with my pants like that,
Yep.
and it's not fun.
Oh, dude, the worst part is, like I said, I've lost, 30 pounds in the last year and I haven't put any back on. And my family is notorious for having no ass anyway, but I really have no ass right now. Dude, I have my sweatpants drawn as tight as I can and they still fall down because there's nothing there to hold them up. And it is awful. And I have
Oh
no
man,
idea how I ever made it for as long as I did, sagging my pants like that.
I wish I had
It's
that problem.
it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big boy, so I have the opposite problem. Like my pants are falling off because the belt's not holding them up well enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a pair of Carhartt. They're like gray Carhartt, pants that are like reinforced in the knees and stuff. They're like hefty pants, and they're like I think 44 waist, and I'm probably like a 42, like 40 or 42 right now. But I still wear them sometimes because I'm not gonna go out and buy brand new pants every time I gain or lose 2 inches. So it's like, but last night I was wearing a belt with them at the bar, and like I kept having to like stop and adjust myself and like tuck my shirt in and everything because they kept
Yeah.
falling down. It was annoying.
Oh yeah. That's for the last couple months. Just every time I'm working on the line, every couple of trucks, I gotta hike my pants up.
Yeah.
It's
The one
awful.
thing the one thing I do not compromise on is footwear. Going back to where we
Oh,
started with this episode, like mission specific footwear. Like
oh yeah.
I will pay $250 for a sick pair of boots, and I
Yep.
like my boots. They
Oh yeah.
are mock toe, hand stitched, leather boots, and I love them.
Oh
And I
yeah.
take care of them. I brush them with a horsehair brush. I have leather conditioner. Like, you know, I bought. This might make you sick to your stomach, but we just bought Dimitri a $160 pair of Timberlands, and I mean, I threw it on our Kohl's card, but I'm like, you know what? This kid deserves to have a sick fly looking pair of boots, and we got them like almost a full size bigger than what he currently wears, knowing he's going to grow into that boot over the next 2 years, and then he probably will need a new pair. But
Yeah.
$160 for a nice pair of boots that I know are going to last him 2 years is a small price to pay as far as I'm concerned. You
But
know,
you're gonna pay $50 for a cheap pair. So
exactly, exactly.
I
And
mean,
cheap boots suck.
yeah. Oh, they're awful. And I
Yeah,
mean, here's the thing: they'll last, and you got two more coming up after him that can wear them. Because,
exactly.
and I
Yeah,
mean, I always, I never minded getting hand-me-downs. Like I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I mean, I had older cousins and my older siblings. I got hand-me-downs all the time. I mean, not quite as much as my little siblings did, because there was a 9-year gap between me and my older sister.
Right.
But I still had older cousins and, you know, big ass family. So
Mhm.
to me, it was just clothes.
Right. I kind of grew up with hand-me-downs a lot too, but my hand-me-downs weren't like from an older sibling because I was the oldest. My hand-me-downs were all like, well, it was thrift clothes. You know, like my mom did a lot of garage sailing. She did a lot of thrift store shopping, and like I know the area that you live in, and there's a shit ton of garage sales. Like every summer, there's loaded with garage sales all over that area.
Oh yeah.
And I always hated it. Like I don't like garage sailing. Like I will be honest, like I understand it, but the amount of time that I spent in a hot car with my mom telling me no, you can't have that toy made me hate garage sales. And it just was like, why can we spend all this fucking time driving around God knows where to look for the fucking gem of a garage sale so your broke ass can feel like they got a sale or something? Like, you won't even buy me a toy. Like, you know, I'm just kidding. But like, it was always very frustrating for me, and it still is. Like, I don't go to garage sales. I don't go to the thrift store that often. I understand why people do. You can get sick bargains because people just don't know what they have. But I mean, I don't know.
I got this couch for $40 from Salvation Army.
Yeah,
It's like brand new. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that.
exactly. Yeah.
But
No, I had a friend who just messaged me yesterday. She sent me a picture of a Dutch oven she just found at the St. Vinny's here, and it was a Le Creuset Dutch oven. It's a $200 to $300 piece of kitchenware.
Yep.
And they gave it to her for free
oh,
in the box
oh,
because they said that it looked damaged because it had some slight chipping on the outside, and I think the inside had like some rusting. It's an enamel coated cast iron. That's like a $300 like Dutch oven. No shit. Look it up. Le Creuset is the brand, and when she told me that, I was so pissed because like I fucking settled for the damn Lodge brand enamel coated cast iron because like they're pretty comparable, but they're like half the cost, you know?
Yeah.
But those Le Creusets are sick, and they're like, it's like I was so upset when she said that. I'm happy for her, but like, god damn it, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not crazy about garage sales, but
going back to consumerism though, think about that. Like they gave that to her for free just because they didn't understand what it was. How much shit gets thrown away every year just because somebody didn't know what it was, you know? That's the shit I'm talking about, people.
Oh, yeah.
Like you cannot this consumerist culture of like materialism is it's gross.
Yep. Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, I've been trying to like minimalize. Not doing super great, especially with my books. But
you know, I am too, John. I feel like it's a process, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of clothes, like I said, I had high school clothes up until last year, and it was one of those things. If it wasn't ruined, I would save it just because I could wear it working out or outside if I had to do yard work or whatever. I could have clothes, but it was to the point I got rid of 5 or 6 like big garbage bags full of clothes. I just brought them straight to Goodwill, and I was like, here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just had so much. It was awful. So
yeah, I got rid of a whole tote of clothes, stuff that was, you know, I used to keep the stupidest shit. Like I had like 5 pair of ripped underwear. It's like, why do I have these? It was because the design was cool. You know, when I sat and asked myself, because I have a MeUndies subscription.
Yep.
And like some of those pairs of underwear I bought are fucking awesome, but you wear a pair of underwear, you know, 100 plus times when you're a big guy, they're not good anymore, you know. So like I had to get rid of them.
Yep.
And like, you know, it's the same with like a lot of other shit that I've gotten rid of, you know. But we have 3 boys, so we had all of the kids' stuff from basically birth, and we had never gotten rid of a lot of stuff. So we found there was a couple that lived down the street that had a toddler, and we had them come over. We're like, you get first dibs. Anything you want, take it. It's free. So like they took like half of our shit, and then the other half we just we donated. There was a couple things like we ended up taking to the landfill or whatever because it was or to the dump because it was broken or whatever. But
Yeah.
that was huge. That was huge. We got rid of a lot of stuff, and now it should be easier to get rid of stuff. Like if you want to get rid of a couch, it's going to cost you some money. If you want to get rid of like an air conditioner, it's going to cost you some money. It's like annoyingly expensive to get rid of things.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of my stuff just goes in my basement that floods, and I just leave it down there. And when I move out, I will just leave it there.
Oh no, that's funny.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Kind of.
I got you. No, I got you. It's funny. Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot of things Felicia and I, we were talking about like design because like I've and this is one of my many flaws. I have avoided putting things up and like decorating properly because we've always rented and nothing's ever really felt like mine. And so I never wanted to put the effort into decorating because it just felt like it's temporary, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I always saw my dad like, doing all this stuff to, sand the walls and paint and, change shit. And I was just like, you know what, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to expend that much time and effort on something that's not even mine. But I let that kind of also extend to things like putting pictures up and like putting up paintings that that we like and things like that. And so I think that's one of the things I'm trying to change about myself is like I want to look at pictures of family. Like I want the inside of my house to be welcoming and warm, and I want to have like some paintings on the walls or like quotes or things like that. I just don't want live, laugh, love, No. And I don't want like knickknacks and shit like that everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't mind some knickknacks, but like knickknacks are a little tacky in my opinion. Like I just, there's things I don't know. Everybody's got their thing. Like my mom collects precious moments and stuff, and that's kind of cool to look at when I'm at her house. But I feel like it's a lot in the way you display it too. Like if you have like a nice display for things, and it can be super cool. I always find it a little strange when you have like knickknacks that are sort of randomly out of place and like mixed in. There's no point in being there. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I hate cleaning. It is my least favorite thing. Like dishes, sweeping, mopping, dusting, all of it. I hate cleaning more than almost anything in the world. So I am to a point where I don't do knickknacks. Like I've got to the point, like I grew up, my mom saved everything. I mean, she just gave me a box of notebooks and papers from high school and homeschooled. And I was like, I don't want any of this. So I went through and I pulled out a couple of English things that I had written. But other than that, dude, I threw it away. I was like, I don't want this at all. And like, but she has saved, she's 60 something, 69, almost 7. I don't know. She's up there. And it's like she's got an entire lifetime's worth of stuff in her house. And I get it because there's sentimental value and stuff. But at this point, it's got to really mean something for me to want to keep it. Like, she had given me, when I first moved out, she had given me the little pillowcase and baby blanket that I had as an infant that I carried with me everywhere until I was like, 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
And she had given it to me. And I put it in a bag and I put it under my bed. And it was there for a decade. And finally last summer, I was like, I don't even remember carrying this around. I've seen pictures of me carrying it around. It's torn. It's disgusting. Like, why do I need to keep this?
Yeah.
And so I got rid of it. I just threw it away. And it was like,
You're
yeah, there's
keeping
some,
it because the thought of it, not or like it's not because of a memory. It's because like the thought of it, like or somebody feels like you should keep it.
yeah,
Yeah. I have the same feelings, man. Like in a box somewhere are all of my baby teeth.
yep,
I don't know why. There's also like a blanket. I think I have a blanket too. It's like a Winnie the Pooh blanket from probably like 1989, 1990.
yeah.
And I don't know what I'm ever gonna do with that. And it smells like baby vomit. And if you're a parent, you know what that smells like.
Oh yes,
Where it's set in and it's just never gonna leave. Basically, it smells like curdled milk. Is
yeah,
essentially what the baby vomit smell is like.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
like, I don't know.
Well, I've been trying to just like, I mean, as far as even, my clothes and my look and everything, I'm just trying to keep everything simple at this point. I want it comfortable. I want it simple, easy. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think the whole like Marie Kondo slash minimalist movement, the whole downsizing approach, has really gotten popular in the past like 10 to 15 years. It's just, you know, we've started to kind of realize that, like square footage is becoming more expensive and we have to live more smart about our surroundings, and that means like making tough decisions about what you're keeping. Like, what is the point of surrounding yourself with junk? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, the whole idea, one man's junk's another man's treasure, sure, I get it. But also, don't just load your house full of junk. Like, make sure the things you have are useful, are purposeful. Replace things that are broken. Don't just hoard shit. That's always been like a problem. For me is like hoarding shit. And fortunately, we don't really have much of a hoard like we used to. And I'm sure to some people who would listen to this that know us or that know me would be like, "Oh, you did bullshit. You didn't have a hoard." But like, you know, we honestly just had a family of five. It wasn't even like a hoard like of shit. It was just stuff that we had to have at one point that we just didn't get rid of.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I know, like, my entire life, I've always wanted to have a library in my house. And so, and like, my ex-wife also wanted that. So, like, we would go to thrift stores or garage sales or used bookstores or whatever, and just any book that looked remotely interesting. I mean, we would walk out with stacks of 15 or 20 books at a time. And we would do that all, all the time. Dude, 2 years ago, I went through all my books and I was like, all right, if it's not something I actually think I'm going to read, I got to get rid of it because I got too many at this point. But I got rid of like 3,000 books and I still have 1,000 of them. And I realized it's very likely I will not read all of them. But at this point, all of the books I have are things that genuinely interest me and that I want to read. And I would still like to have a dedicated library eventually.
I'm very torn on the whole book thing. Like, there's a million books I would love to read, and I would like to have like Eaton Press versions of like some books. Like
Lord of
the
the Rings.
Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings, like those Moby Dick. Like, there's a lot of really nice leather bound, really nice books that I would love to have, but it would be just for display purposes. Those books would never get read.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I have Audible and Kindle on my phone, and I've read books on my phone, and that works fine. And I don't know. I don't see the point in like having books anymore. There is something nostalgic, and I will say I love one thing I miss. I always loved being in libraries when I was a kid. I spent tons of time in public libraries because they were always free and we were always poor. So when you're in a when you're in a library, you get all those books and like the book smell, and
Yep.
it's quiet and it's peaceful, and like you're just surrounded, limitless knowledge. I love that feeling. And yeah, I get it. Like wanting to have a library in your house. Trust me. Like I would love to have $1 million so I could have a room just for books and with a big, nice leather reading,
Oh, yeah.
sofa or whatever. But like, I don't know. When I'm thinking about, I have my board games, our board games all displayed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's I have read books on the Kindle and my phone and stuff. I've I just I don't know. It's something about the physical book. And I mean, my thing is I take a lot of notes. And so I'm underline shit. I mark up the margins. I like
Okay, gotcha. See,
I
I'm not that way. Like I don't mark books usually ever.
I didn't used to. And then I started reading, well, I joined a book club and we were reading the great books of the Western world like Plato and
Yeah.
Homer
Yeah, I've
and
seen you
those.
post them, yeah.
Yeah. And the first book they send you is how to read a book. And basically it's how to get the most out of everything you read.
Uh-huh.
And it was like I mean, it was more focused on nonfiction, but it was like anything you read, you should be able to get something out of it. And if you like underline and take notes and do all this shit, it's basically a journal of your progression as your knowledge increases or whatever. And you can
Right.
go and like you can flip back through and you can see a margin and you can flip it open, read the passage, read what you wrote about it, and then do you still feel
More
that way? Is
more
something
of a
different?
more of a study.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they make study versions of the Bible and stuff like that. So, it's got it's annotated and there's like, I don't know. You know what a study Bible looks like. I don't have to
Oh
explain
yes. Oh yeah.
it.
I actually I have one
Yeah.
somewhere, but I got rid of the rest of them because now my Bible, like I got it's a Bible journal. It's the Bible, but then it's got margins on each side to take notes in.
Mhm.
Because I've decided that I'm smart enough on my own that I can make my own interpretation. I don't need someone else's to tell me what it means.
Trues. I don't know, like we always use the King James version. Like we never used NIV or any of the other versions because we always went to Baptist churches, and most Baptist churches are King James.
Oh yeah.
So it's I actually think that I'm a better reader because I had to read the King James. Like Shakespeare,
Easy.
easy.
Oh, dude,
Easy.
I was one of the only I was one of the
Yeah.
only kids in high school.
Yep.
I was
Me
reading
too.
Shakespeare, just blowing through it, and they're like, "How do you even understand that?" I'm like,
Well,
"This
try
is
reading
nothing."
yeah. Try reading the Bible, man. Like,
I was like,
yeah.
At least this is English. Have you tried to
Yeah.
pronounce some of those names?"
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I played like 3 or 4 different parts. One year when we were reading through Shakespeare, I played Benvolio, Mercutio, and somebody else in Romeo and Juliet, and I played somebody in The Merchant of Venice and somebody in something else that was Shakespeare related. And I had to read aloud the parts, and there'd be kids like tripping over words constantly, and I was always just like in character with voice, like trying to give it my gusto.
Oh yeah,
It's fun.
that's the only experience I had with that was we had to pick a scene from As You Like It, maybe. I don't remember. It was Shakespeare. It was one of them, but it was me and all of my sports buddies and one girl, and we're like, "There's a fight scene. We're gonna do the fucking fight scene." And so, dude, we brought in our football helmets and our fucking hockey helmets and boxing gloves, and dude, we just went to fucking town. Like there's a little bit of text at the beginning and the end, and we went through that, and then for 5 minutes we just beat the hell out of each other.
It's hilarious.
It's on tape somewhere, and I tried to get my English teacher to give it to me, and she's like, "Well, I'll
Yeah.
look for it," and then nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, I coming all the way back to aesthetic, I think that like the main takeaways that I have on my aesthetic these days, you know, as a parent, it's like make sure it's comfortable, make sure it is, I guess, acceptable for the environment that you're in. You know, not the maybe the environment itself, but like the environment that you're in. Make sure it's adaptable.
Yeah.
I
Quality.
also I also have kind of started looking more into like the gray man philosophy of like not sticking out,
Yeah.
essentially. There's something about sort of being not standing out, you know, like in your everyday life that I enjoy more about standing out. You know, like I'm not trying to make a statement. I'm trying to blend in and get through my day, you know.
I don't know. I own a lot of hot pink and bright colored shit, so I can't say that.
But if you're in a room full of hot pink and bright colored things, then that blends in. You know
I
what I
am
mean?
never in a room. I am always at work with other people.
Okay. When I think about what you just said, I'm thinking like, okay, I have 3 different tank tops upstairs in my closet that I will only wear in the month of July, basically. And if I wore those in any other month, I'd be sticking out up here. But if I wore those in July at Lower Harbor around the time everybody's out and about, I'd blend in because everybody's wearing the same shit, you
Yeah.
know? There's this whole like frat kid July dress wear phenomenon that I can't stand. But it's like, you know, I appreciate a good tiki like you know, button up tiki shirt. Like
Yeah.
I really dig tiki shirts, and I like to wear tank tops because it's just cool. But there's something about this whole like short shorts are coming back into style again. Short shorts with high socks, you know, from like the '80s, and it's because of Stranger Things and all like the '80s, and I hate it.
Here's the thing. I don't wear them anymore because I weigh 145 pounds and my chicken legs are more chickeny than ever. But back when I was 187 pounds, I was wearing short shorts all the fucking time because let me tell you what, if you're in a 100-degree shop and you got the fan blowing up your legs, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And and here's the thing, mine are hot pink and they're 5-inch inseam. So it's like super. You can even see my tattoos on my legs that my buddy did. And the one is his signature. So
That's funny. Yeah.
I have no shame. If I'm comfortable, I don't care. I mean, if they would let me, I would work barefoot in nothing but my short shorts. I want to be
Uh,
comfortable, and I am most comfortable in as little as possible.
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of the same, man. Like I'm barefoot 9 times out of 10 around the house. Like I don't like wearing socks. In the summertime I wear flip-flops. Like my toes are gross. Like I've got I've had toenails removed on like both of my big toes. Like
Yep.
I'm not trying to impress anybody. I want to be comfortable. Like, I like flip-flops. Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you don't there's a lot of people who say flip-flops aren't manly. I don't care. They're comfortable.
Oh yeah.
If I could, I would just wear barefoot like all the time, but
It's
we're not
nasty
built
out
with
there.
like, yeah, it's nasty. Yeah, it's nasty out there. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I could grow my beard long enough to braid it. Someday I hope to get there, but
I'm
I don't
working on
know.
it. I'm going championship beard and hair growth right now. I'm not shaving anything or cutting anything until I hit 200 pounds body weight, which is probably going to take me a year and a half, 2 years. But I figure by then I'll just have a fucking mane and a just giant ass beard. And then
So you must have like a crazy high metabolism.
there was also a lot of cocaine and heartbreak involved in my
Well,
weight loss.
well, sure. Well, yeah, in your weight loss, but I'm saying like your body must just,
Oh yeah.
I mean, burn through calories,
When I got up to 187 from 165 in during quarantine in 2020.
Yeah.
It was 2 months. There was 10 weeks. I put on 20 pounds, almost solid muscle. I was eating like 4,500 calories a day. I was doing almost nothing but laying on the couch and watching TV and working out. Like that's basically what I was doing. And I put on the weight. I went back to work and I lost 10 pounds in the first month.
Yeah.
I don't hold weight for anything. It's awful.
Yeah, and see, like I'm the opposite. Like I hold weight. It doesn't. I mean, yes, if I go jump on a treadmill and I run, 3, 4, or 5 miles or whatever, I'm gonna lose weight. I'll lose fucking 50 pounds in 45 days or whatever, or some shit like that. But then as soon as I stop, I put that weight right back on. Like
Yep.
my metabolism is so stupid low, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And like I know there's like probably books that have been written on like how to jumpstart your metabolism. I'm pretty sure I've heard that in a commercial somewhere. But I other than like constantly staying active, which is nearly impossible for someone like your boy who likes to chill and like Netflix and watch and play video games and stuff. So, I don't know. I've sort of accepted the fact that I'm probably never going to have the body I want. However, I do want to be more healthy because right now I don't feel healthy. And like, even the idea of doing something like skiing or snowboarding feels unattainable right now. Like, I feel like I would just hurt myself. And I don't want to feel like that. Like, I want to feel like I can do the things I want to do. And not have to worry about mechanical injury.
Well, dude, that's like I said, when I was 2 years ago, when I was big, dude, I felt good all the time. I had energy. I'd wake up in the morning refreshed. It was like, this is amazing. I need to keep this going. And I didn't keep it going. And I need to start working out again. And I know that. And I'm going to eventually. Maybe.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't. The actual doing part is so hard.
A fucking gym wardrobe has its own aesthetic too. There's like people who judge what you're wearing in the gym. It's fucking ridiculous. It's obnoxious.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I could give a shit less as long as I can fully move. That's all I care about.
Right?
I mean,
that should be all you care about.
My workout clothes tears them. They're ripped. They're stained.
Because they're fucking workout clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're for blood, sweat, and tears, man.
Exactly. I'm not trying to impress anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say, as far as aesthetic goes, when you are in good shape, you feel good no matter what the fuck you're wearing. Like, I mean, I'm not even going to say I looked amazing, but compared to what I normally walk around at, 187 was huge for me. And I was like, I feel awesome.
Yeah. That must be nice. No, the last time I had a dedicated like health regimen was probably in 2013, 2014. That was the last time I actually had a lot of energy being put into myself. Like I was working nights, so my routine was I'd go to work at 11, get off at 7 a.m., would go home, change, grab my gym bag, and drive over to my buddy's house. We'd work out for like a solid 2 hours lifting weights. And then in the summertime, we would run and we would lift on the off days and stuff. Whereas in the wintertime, we would just do like, upper body, lower body, lower body, whatever. Like, so I don't know, like I was also taking like Cellucor to try to lose weight, and I was, drinking protein shakes and to try to gain muscle mass and stuff. And I don't know, like I felt good back then. Like I was getting to be in pretty decent shape, and I was down to like, I think 265, which for me was good. 265 was probably the lowest I've been in 15 years. Like I was like in middle school I was like 190, 200 pounds, and then in high school I was like 220, 230. And then my senior year I lost a shit ton of weight. Well, like the year after my senior year, I lost a ton of weight. I got down to like 195. 195 pounds is the lowest I've ever been. I'm sure if like for somebody like you, that's like probably sounds ridiculous, but like 195 pounds for me was like I'm lean, I'm mean, like I'm crispy, and I haven't been under 300 pounds in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like 320 right now, which is not healthy. Like I'm obese. I'm a big boy.
Yeah.
So I gotta get in shape.
Oh yeah, that's constant battle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like shit all the time now, as skinny as I am. I got no energy. I hurt everywhere.
So what you said you're like 145, 150?
Yeah, right around there.
I am two of you, John.
Yeah, I know. Oh, believe me. Here's the thing. I'm happy all my clothes are baggy right now because I look pretty fucking awful when I'm shirtless.
Yeah, so do I.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. Still not great.
It's funny. It's not funny, but it is a little funny. So we have I bartend, right? And we have cribbage night at the place where I bartend. And the cribbage night's a bunch of old fucking Uper miners just playing cribbage, and they don't care. They're not trying to be PC. They're not trying to, filter or whatever. They're just there to play cribbage and drink beer and go home. So usually we have a female that takes care of these guys. Like she goes back there. She's basically a cocktail waitress. And she called in sick last week. And I've heard some of the things that these girls have had to listen to. And I'm just like, I'm not into it. So like I told my boss, I'm like, you have them come to the bar. I'm not going back there. My tits are big, but I'm not dealing with these guys. So like, I don't know. I make that joke all the time at the bar. It's like, because where I work is in a place that time forgot for the most part. So like, a lot of these people are just stuck in 1950. Or, or at the very least 1975, which is still not great. And so, some of the shit that I hear, it's just like, it's cringy. I wish it was different. I'm a better person. I don't say the shit, but like it can be kind of bad sometimes. So like, I have made the joke before, like, if my tits were bigger, maybe I'd get more tips or whatever, like, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Oh yeah. Well, we've been talking for about an hour now. Got a little off topic there.
Oh yeah, I've definitely sidebarred.
But if you listen to us long enough, you will probably get that every episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's it for episode 3 of the Rust Belt Revolution podcast. We thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with some other topic that we are about to decide on.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thank you for listening to the Rust Belt Revolution podcast. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. If you have any questions for John and I, please leave a comment. If you like the podcast, please share and leave a review.